but like the passion is the key, following the passion and knowing that when you're in that energy state, that is where more probabilities and more synchronicities come into our life. Like that's why I know that when I start doing these live events, even if it's not specifically the live events that bring me like the abundance right away, it's me being in the energy state of doing the live events that will propel me to be in a new energy to where then I perceive of new synchronicities in my life that I couldn't perceive of before, because before I was just in an old energy state that brought me success for 5 years, but it's like, it's not bringing me the same energy anymore. So I need to change something. And that's why I know that if I just follow this carrot on a stick of like doing live events, I'll figure it out as I go. Maybe that is bigger 1,000-person plus live events that are like using group energy and stuff. Maybe it's more so I do live events to get content that I put on YouTube and that grows the virtual audience. I don't know, but I know I'll figure it out as I go from just being in that state,
Yes. Yeah. Trusting the energy, trusting the direction that it's pulling you in, that it is going to serve the next purpose.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I totally agree with all that, by the way, is people are listening and if they're still with us, I'm sure that they're totally jiving with all this stuff. But whether it's the person listening that might not completely get it, or whether it's someone that they know that might need it, like what is it that gets people? You mentioned at the beginning, like 90% is awareness, right? When people talk about being like, feeling like kind of overwhelmed or frustrated, or like there's a lot going on and it's really difficult, I'm like, you're so far much further along than you realize. The fact that you have awareness to something you want to fix.
Yeah.
People literally go through entire lives without ever seeing the thing that needs to get fixed. And so the fact that you come to an awakening or a realization that you want to change something is already so much of the work. So the real question I have is like, what does it take to get that? Like is that something that could be manipulated? Meaning like, can you get people to that state, or are there like signs that people should look out for that would sort of be a hook into how they can heal patterns, heal relational patterns, heal ancestral patterns? How do people get into that space where they can have the awareness? Because that to me seems like it takes the longest. I mean, yes, the alchemization of energy to grow and expand. Like, here's the deal. Lessons are always hard. Like as many waves of it as I've gone through, I'm like, this is so hard. And then you're like, fuck, it's because it's another lesson. And they're supposed to be hard. That's what it takes to get to shift it. So how do we get people into awareness?
The first thing I'll say is everybody that is listening to this right now are so like already have to give themselves credit, because when people are in the energy of like, consuming content that is about this kind of stuff, where we're talking about awareness and transformation and everything that you share on your podcast, they're already ahead of a large percentage of the planet. Not that we need to develop a spiritual ego about it or anything, but like it is true. Like there are so many people that are asleep and that are just in their patterns, and they're just like completely kind of immersed into that, to where they feel like at least they don't have the ability to like tap into that awareness. So if you're even able to perceive of this episode right now, then give yourself credit, because you are already on the path. If you're already looking at yourself, you're already on the path of awareness. And the key with awareness that I found is awareness is so simple. It's just observation. It's observing what's happening in your body. It's observing what's happening in the mind. And the best way that I've learned to do that is through kind of what we were talking about earlier, where you take space. Like I'm taking space from making YouTube videos. That's allowing me clarity. It's taking space from life. I think a lot of times we are watching the news, we're watching social media, we're consuming all these things that may not be having the best effect on our vibration or our energy. And then we're staying in the hamster wheel. So to gain awareness, it's simply asking yourself new questions. Like, what am I passionate about? What do I believe about what's like happening? How do I feel about it? And another thing that I'll share that like has been something that I share on my channel that I hear people reach back to me all the time and say, this thing changed my life. And it's so simple. I call it, I learned it from my shadow work integration coach that I had a while ago. And it's a very simple embodiment practice. I call it the frame technique. So I have like a video on YouTube called the frame technique, and it's a very simple process, but it literally is bringing the awareness into the body and feeling the separation between you and like a candle flame, or you and the wall, or you and the computer right now. If you bring the awareness into your body and you feel the separation between you and another object, or you and another person, if you have somebody that you have trouble setting boundaries with other people, and you feel like maybe there's like an ex that you want to let go of or something, what you can do is bring the awareness into the hands, bring the awareness into the feet, and actually focus on the separation between you and this other person. And in the spiritual community, there's this like, we're all connected. Let's all feel connected. But that is only one side of the equation. A lot of what spiritual people need, I believe, is actually to feel separation. Because in the separation, you're able to actually feel safe in your own body. And you're able to delineate, this is me and that is you. And even though we're all connected, that's where people get, where they feel like they're not able to tap into awareness, is because they feel so pulled into so many different directions. Like, what does my mom want me to do? What does my boyfriend, girlfriend want me to do? Or my husband, wife? What does my kids want me to do? Or they're trying to please everybody. And then you don't know who the fuck you are.
Or for empaths or highly sensitive people.
Exactly. And that's who that frame technique helps the most, is empaths. It's people that feel so connected to everybody else. And what that I found, and I talk about, this is something I've learned from my own life, is that's being an empath, I believe, is somewhat of a learned mechanism that has been birthed because of trying to get your own needs met. So for example, growing up as a kid, I was someone like this because I had to, like, in order to get the approval or validation as a kid, I had to tune to my environment to feel safe. So part of being an empath is tuning to other people and feel like into what they're feeling, because then it's like, if I can make you happy, or if I can please you, or let the tension go away and avoid tension, and you feel good, then I can feel good. Yes. So it's a mechanism that was learned as a kid to ease tension, to then get other people to feel a certain way. So then I could say, oh, now I can feel safe. And the problem with that, though, is that then when you tune to other people that often, what ends up happening is you lose your sense of self. You lose what I call your frame, your sense of frame, and feeling safe in your own frame, and being able to set boundaries with other people, being able to feel and live according to your own values. Because as a people pleaser or an empath, you tune to other people and your values become their values. Whatever they value, like, I value that too. And you're like, who the fuck am I? What do I value? What's important to me? And that's why I think it's very important, this whole frame technique process of just bringing the awareness in your body, is then you could start saying, like, what do I actually value in my life? And what I had to realize to shed the people pleaser persona is I valued, as the old version of me, I valued validation and approval from other people. That were like my top values. I wasn't aware of it, but I became aware that, oh wait, I really want people to like me. I really want people to like feel good around me. And I then became aware that I was living by those values to get my inner childhood needs met that weren't met, of validation and approval. And then I became aware of how much that was actually hurting me. I became aware that in dating, I was dating women where I felt like I had to fix them, or I had to please them, and then that was making the masculine feminine energy dynamic not very grounded, and that was not good for the relationship. And I noticed that my dad, I got it from my dad. My dad's like a typical nice guy, that he attracted my ex-stepmom, who was a narcissist. And that was the dynamic that I saw. Fun. It's a trap that a lot of people fall into, unfortunately. But and it was, I could see how it never, as a nice guy or a people pleaser, you think, if I do this strategy, I'm going to get my needs met. But it actually doesn't really work, because people don't respect you. And then you feel like you're getting pulled in different directions. But I decided, instead of living according to validation and approval, I'm going to live according to the values of vulnerability and authenticity. And the thing with vulnerability is that's the ability to like show the real you. So people pleasers and empaths are afraid of showing their real emotions. They're afraid of being vulnerable. They're afraid, back in the day, I'd be afraid to like show someone I was dating that I was attracted to them. And what I learned after like this transformation is like, I now express that. I express that desire. I express my true emotions. I don't hold it back. And it has a completely different effect on masculine feminine energy dynamics. And what I realize is like that it takes vulnerability to ask somebody out. It takes vulnerability to show your your own emotions and to show how you really feel. And when someone says something you don't like, to like say, hey, I don't think that was cool. It takes vulnerability to do that. And the main wound of the empath, of the people pleaser, is an abandonment wound, where they're afraid other people are going to leave. And the way out of the abandonment wound is actually into vulnerability. It's into being able to let go of the shame, which means I'm broken. The shame is like, that's what people are hiding that have that people pleaser, nice guy persona. They're trying to hide the belief that I'm broken. But when you're able to show the real you and live according to that vulnerability, it takes courage. But as you do it, you start rewiring your sense of beliefs of who you are and your own sense of worthiness. And you start realizing you actually are worthy. And that's what changed my life more than anything, was valuing vulnerability and authenticity over validation and approval, and becoming aware of my own values. What do I choose to live by? Those values plus other values, following my passion and, things like that. And that's completely transformed my life. But it's come through feeling separation between me and other people more than anything. And that's helped me feel safe in my frame. And it's completely changed like how I show up. It's completely changed my masculine, like how I show up in my own energy.